See You at Sunset has a special significance in Key West. It's an invitation to partake in a spontaneous celebration as jugglers, tourists, clowns, fishermen, psychics, island musicians, artists, food vendors, and friends gather each night to celebrate the close of another day in paradise. Mallory Square has a long history of being the center of activity in Key West. Once the chosen anchorage of pirates, it later became the base for anti-pirate campaigns orchestrated by Commodore Porter in the 1800s. Mallory Square has also been the center of the wrecking industry and the assembling point of American forces for 4 wars. Many noted figures have enjoyed the view of sunset from Mallory Square over the years. John Audubon wrote glowingly of the glorious Key West sunsets while visiting in the early 1800s, and legend has it that Tennessee Williams initiated the ritual of applauding the sunset at Mallory Square, gin and tonic firmly in hand. Even today, the tradition has expanded, and now there's the blowing of the conch shell every day as the sun eases down over the horizon. The contemporary incarnation of sunset celebration really took off in the late 1960s, as groups of carefree gypsies descended upon Key West and Mallory Pier in search of paradise. The way that the sunset ceremony got started is that all the freaks, as drug users were called in the 60s, used to go down every evening high on LSD to watch Atlantis arising mythically out of the cloud formations at sunset. There were about 30 to 40 regulars, many of whom lived in Fogarty House, which at the time was full of hippies. The late 1970s and early 1980s were a pivotal time in the history of the festival. At that time, vending on the dock was risky as there were signs saying, "No peddling on the pier." Yet, as word got out, more and more people started showing up to set up shop with their wares. It was turning into a flea market type environment. To make matters worse, the dock was being renovated to accommodate cruise ships, so the fate of sunset was hanging in the balance. Merchants adjacent to Mallory Square began complaining about the unsupervised nature of the event. The city of Key West had to address the issue. Meanwhile, sunset participants, realizing the gravity of the situation, began getting organized to preserve the tradition. A large group of participants formed a legal entity known as the Key West Cultural Preservation Society in 1984. The organization drafted guidelines for participation and negotiated a lease with the city of Key West with the understanding that the Cultural Preservation Society would manage sunset and ensure its artistic integrity. The rest is history, as they say. Sunset Celebration continues to be an internationally known attraction that supports a cottage industry in Key West. It's become an incubator for the arts and a launching point for many visual and performing artists. Sunset can be credited with attracting and inspiring the development of a generation of talent known throughout the world. It's also interesting when you realize that every artist that appears at Sunset Celebration has to personally make the items that they're selling. They can't just buy it and take the Chinese stickers off and put it up for sale. They have to make it themselves. They have to prove they can make it themselves. They have to demonstrate it to a jury that they can make it themselves. And then the artist, has to show up every night to sell it. They can't send their assistant down. They can't send their intern down. They can't send anyone else but themselves down to sell every night. So when you're there, you're getting handcrafted arts and crafts and jewelry and anything else that they're selling, all handmade, and you are talking to the artist that actually made them. There's nowhere else in Key West that has this unique feature. And at the same time, there's very few events in Key West that are actually free, and it happens every night. So it's a family event. It's a great time. The Sunset Celebration starts 2 hours before sunset, and it ends 2 hours after sunset. The nightly festival that happens at Mallory Square is unlike anything you've ever experienced. Locals and visitors alike are coming to see the wonder of nature and the sunset but also the performers and the vendors. It's a wonderful show of community. There's live music, there's stunt performers, there's comedy shows, and there's local food vendors, as well as local artisans with their handmade crafts. If you're looking to pick up any kind of local Key West souvenirs, the first place you should check is Sunset Celebration. And it was today, February 1st, 1963, that the Assistant Secretary of the Navy, James Wakelis Jr., was the speaker for the dedication of the renovated Mallory Square. The restoration of Mallory Square was sponsored by the Old Island Restoration Foundation. And that's what happened today in Key West history. Today in Key West history is brought to you by 43 Keys Media. You can find out more about our glorious past as well as what's going on in Key West today by visiting 43keys.com. You can find this program as a Alexa Flash Briefing. You can also find us on YouTube, and you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. So, subscribe wherever you're listening, give us a thumbs up, and don't miss an episode. And we'll see you over at 43keys.com.